Hello, welcome to Rock Your Life with Ariane Alexander. This is your place to be, baby, to master your mindset, to get inspired, to do new things in your life and business, to have more fun, and of course, rock your life. All right, have you ever wanted someone to just give you a swift kick in the ass to get you in gear in your business and get you out there on social media and help you get visible? Yes, well, we have her today. She's your gal. My friend Jill Coleman is a bomb online business coach and teacher, a social media expert, and a health and fitness expert. So you've seen her in Women's Health, Strong Fitness Magazine, Self, Shape, Yahoo, Live Strong, and more. She's also the host of 2 podcasts and has some amazing online business coaching programs. So she's a little busy, but she took time to chat with me today to give you some actual tools that you can use in your social media and your business to really put yourself out there and get going. So here we go. We're going to dive in with Jill.
All right, Jill, I'm so happy you're here today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so pumped and I'm so excited to see you. It's been months and I know you've moved and all that good stuff, but we used to be neighbors, not anymore.
Yeah, I used to live in LA, as some of you know, and I'm in Miami now, and met Jill in LA, and we have run in the same circles of coaches and fitness, and it's very fun to see you through the years at different events.
Totally. It's been great.
So I wanted to have you on because you are such a genius in the world of mindset, of really shifting your mindset around health and fitness, around your business. And so first, just give me a little overview of how you would describe your business.
Yeah, I know it's like, don't you feel like this is personal branding? You're like, I just do social media. Like, it just feels like, oh, you just kind of get your hands in everything. My background is in health and fitness. So was a personal trainer, group fitness instructor for a long time, just absolutely fell in love with fitness, did a lot of fitness modeling and competitions and things like that. We met through our mutual friend, Lori Harder, who I met through competing, and just did a lot of like really obsessive exercise and diet stuff all through my 20s. And I think, if your listenership is women, that probably can resonate with that, is just doing a lot of dieting and kind of like not really knowing why you're doing that. It wasn't until my late 20s when I started my business, Jill Fit, started as a blog. And I just said, I have all these clients and I'm having all these amazing conversations with them about habit change and behavior change and mindset. And I wanted somewhere to put them. So I started a blog and I didn't know who was going to read it. I ended up blogging every day for the first 2 years of the business and grew a readership. And this is back in like 2010, 2011, when blogging, like long form content, was really big. And was just lucky enough to be on sort of the front end of what we now consider to be internet business, internet marketing, whatever. And then a couple of years in, we were doing a lot of virtual coaching and people just started asking me like, how are you building your business? How are you building your social media? And so I started doing some light business mentorship. And obviously since then, over the last like 8 or 9 years, have literally worked with, thousands of people to help them build their business, mostly in the health and fitness nutrition space.
Well, you have a great business and I've obviously watched you online. And if you don't know Jill, go to @Jill Coleman on Instagram and you'll see she posts consistently and is so great about you're so great about just doing it. And you're so unapologetic about it. And I think that's why you're such a great coach, is people see that and they're like, oh my God, she just does it. So can you speak into that? Because I feel like in social media, that's one of the places that holds people back, is just showing up and doing it. So what's your approach to that?
Totally. And I love the work that you do is like helping people feel super comfortable on social media and on camera and stuff like that. It's like, it's extremely important that, and I think, social media to me it's personal development, isn't it? If you're just someone who has never really used social media in a business capacity, maybe you're a mom or, you have kids or you have a corporate job or something, you're probably on there just to like see pictures of your friends and family. Once you start moving into like, okay, I might want to start doing online coaching, virtual coaching of some sort. It doesn't have to be fitness and nutrition, it can be life coaching or mindset coaching or career coaching or whatever. Once you move into that realm, you're like, oh, okay, things are getting serious and I'm not sure if I'm good at this. You can know that you're good at your job. You can know that you're a good mom, but in order to know that you're really good on social media, it takes reps and it takes time. And I think the hardest thing is, and that's why I always say that like social media really is, it's personal development. It's also self-awareness. One of the best things, and one of the things that my clients do, is not post on social media to get a ton of likes and engagement and money. Of course, that will come later. but really it's so they can get to know themselves, like you kind of get to know yourself through some of the messages. It kind of forces you to be a creator. Maybe you've never been someone who's been creative, or you've never been someone who's really prolific, and forcing yourself to maybe post every day for 30 days, or post 3 times a week forever. Like, it really does force you to learn what your values are, and learn what your messages are, and learn what your philosophy is. So I obviously work with a lot of personal trainers, and they're used to learning from certifications or experts or PhDs or some of these people. And I'm like, no, you're the one educating now, right? And that they have to kind of take off their learn their student hat and put their teacher hat on, and like step into that role to know that they have just as much right as anyone to post something on social media, to teach, to educate, and to eventually, help and have people invest with them. So, it's a mental shift to be like, oh, I guess I'm the one who is now leading the conversation. And so through those reps, through pressing publish over and over and over again, you really start to learn about yourself, which is why when you say that I just put it all out there, it's just been time, right? It's just been literally 11 years of posting so much content online. I'm just like, I know who the fuck I am. This is, like it or not, and I think that takes a lot of reps and just sort of building your confidence that way.
Yeah. I love that you said that about that. It's really about building self-awareness, and that's really a good way to say it, because it's like if you're working with health and fitness professionals, and of course, my audience listening is all kinds of different businesses and people, but we all have to have our own point of view. So I really hear that you're saying, for all of us, I'm sure we've, learned from other coaches, other teachers, other mentors, which is amazing. And each of us has a very specific point of view, but I get why people are afraid to put it out there. They're afraid they're going to, what I always hear, and I'm sure you do too, is what will people think of me? And so what do you say to that when your clients say, what are people going to think of me?
Yeah. I mean, and people are going to have opinions. And so I don't try and say like, no, like it's fine. Like, I'm just like, no, you're probably going to have some people. And you know this too, Arian, like as someone who, is successful and someone who is confident and is comfortable in her skin, your confidence alone will be polarizing, right? Your success alone might be polarizing. You could be the nicest, kindest, most neutral sounding person online, but some people are just going to have something to say. And so my advice always is to get whatever you're scared of out of the way as soon as possible. So if you're worried about, a family member thinking that you think you're, too good, or people worried about you're moving on, or you think you're better than, or like whatever these sort of things are that we're worried about, trolls, haters, judgment from family and friends, disappointment from family, like just these sort of mindset things. I think my advice would be to have the experience ASAP, to be like, there's the troll, there's the hater. It's not that scary, right? It's not that scary. It's so much more scary. And it's never like enjoyable to have an uncomfortable conversation with someone or have some tension. But at the end of the day, I mean, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, this is your purpose in life. This is your message. This is your impact. This is your life's work. And I think it's okay to have a couple conversations that are hard conversations, or some like trolls and haters along the way. That doesn't mean like go seek them out. I think there's a way to handle that kind of stuff. But just get it out of the way as soon as possible, because it's inevitable, especially if you're on a trajectory, right? If you want to get to the next level, there's going to be some of that. And I think you can drive yourself batty trying to figure out what you did right, what you did wrong, where'd you go? So, like, just be you and like let the chips fall. And that's hard for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is hard. And that's so great. I love that you say that, to just get it out of the way. Like, there are going to be people that you are going to have family members possibly that are like, what are you doing? And like, what's that business? And I can't believe you posted that. They're not going to
get it, right? They're going to be like, did you know that 90% of small businesses go, like, they're going to repeat these stats to you. They don't understand our industry. And that's not like a dig. It's just literally, if you come from like a very traditional background, corporate job, 3% raise every year, like what we're doing, what entrepreneurs are doing in the online space right now looks really uncertain, and it looks really scary to someone who's seeing things through a more traditional lens. So it's not that we need to like educate people in our lives. We have to really just own what we're doing. And in my experience, it's the moment that you decide you don't need the affirmation that you start to get it. I know that sounds so strange, but as soon as you are on board with what you're doing, all of a sudden everyone comes out. This happened with me. My client, my family had no idea what I was doing. They were like, are you a gym teacher? Like, like they had no idea. Internet business is so new. How long do you think this thing's going to last? Right. Which is fine. I get it. I give them the benefit of the doubt. But once I started being like so excited about what I was doing, the trajectory I was on, helping people across the globe, all of a sudden they were like, can you write me a meal plan? Can you write me a program? Right? Like all of a sudden they wanted to be a part of it. And so I think it's once you get over that initial sort of, fear of judgment and fear of how you're being perceived and really sort of come into your own, I think you start to really see, and people get excited for you and people want to be on board and people, are your biggest fans, but you got to believe it first. And that's hard sometimes.
Yeah. And you're right. It just takes time and doing it over and over again. There's the Malcolm Gladwell book and quote that's like, you have to do something for 10,000 hours to be an expert at it. And so here's all of, people trying to build a business and put a few posts up and a few, articles and thinking, oh, it's not working. But it's like, it takes time. It is time spent. You will get over it. You will build the confidence. And there's kind of no way around it. You just have to gut through it and get through those sticky points to get to where you do feel confident and comfortable in what you're sharing in your very specific point of view.
Yeah. And also your messages. I think a lot of people start out thinking they want to help people. This is one of my biggest sort of pet peeves around sort of like business coaching is that people feel like they can't start their business without knowing exactly who they help and exactly what their message is. And in my experience, that takes time. You might come into a space thinking, for example, I had a client a couple of years ago who came in and she was like, well, I guess I'll help people with weight loss because that seems to be what everyone wants. So I'll help people lose weight. And over time, she started being like, you know what, that doesn't really resonate for me. I want to help people feel more comfortable in their skin. I want to feel more confident in their body, more like, body esteem type stuff. And now she helps people with like, she does like anti-racism work and she's like going and speaking at like Google for like diversity and inclusion trainings and stuff. So like it evolves over time, but without getting started, I don't think you can reach your final destination. And in my experience, that whole transition for most people is going to take like 12 to 18 months of posting consistently to be like, yeah, that's not for me. That's not for me. Not really digging that. And then finally arrive at your sort of final resting place.
Yeah. And that's a good point that you don't have to know what you're doing from the first moment you start doing it, and you're not going to, and it is going to evolve and change. And like in my own experience, I started out when I started being a coach, I was a life coach, very clearly was a life coach. And then I was like, this isn't as interesting as I would like. So I switched over to business coaching. I would like only coach people who had businesses. And then I still had life coaching clients come in, but I was really business coaching. And then I was like, then I started adding the video component in. And I was like, oh, wow, because I'm really an expert in videos. So then I'm, coaching on videos, and it just keeps evolving. And now I'm in this place of life as I've gotten older, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm kind of going back to like mindset and inspiration and really finding within yourself. And so it just ebbs and flows. So you don't have to have this clear clarity in exactly what you do the moment you start it, because it is going to change.
It so is. And that's the beautiful thing about this as a personal brand. I'm sure you get a lot of fulfillment from your work. Like to me, my business is my creative outlet. Like if I'm not excited about the things I'm sharing, then I might as well just go get a job somewhere, So for me, it really is that thing that I'm excited that I have this really tiny little corner of the internet that I curate. That's just my ideas. Sometimes I'll just post something I want to exist. It's not even like there's not like utility or I'm not making $1 million. It's just literally like, you know what? I have this thing I just like want to share. And I think once you start sort of taking off that consumer hat and you start putting your creator hat on, that's a mindset shift of looking around and going like, oh, I guess I'm the one who's creating the things that other people are now consuming. And that's a distinct shift. That's something that I help my beginner students work through like in the first year or two, because oftentimes, again, they've done certifications, gotten degrees, credentials, right? They're learning from different coaches and mentors. I don't think that ever ends. But I think in the beginning, you sound a lot like the people you learn from, right? Because you're like, well, they're successful. And I learned from them. So you're using a lot of their language. And maybe, I don't know, if you're like me, I hadn't really written anything since like undergrad or like high school, right? Like a term paper. So when I'm starting a blog like 10 years later and I'm going, I guess I'm just writing 2,000 words every day for the rest of my life. Like it's just a weird sort of thing. But through that and being prolific, you arrive at what you're sort of here to do, whatever that lands in. Of course, you can always go back to business. You have experience with that. And I think it also mirrors sort of where you're at in your own life. Like, I don't want to talk about nutrition that much anymore. Like, I love it. I was steeped in it for many years, but I'm kind of done with it. I kind of like said my final piece on that, you know? And so I think it really is important as a tenacity tool for you to honor what you're excited about and honor where your passion is, because that's what's going to keep you showing up to your business every day, is actually liking the content. And we all know what it feels like to not, right? We're like, I just don't want to talk about that thing. And we're forcing it, right? It should feel like you're pulling versus pushing. It should feel like, oh, this is exciting to me. I can't wait to talk about this thing. I'm so pumped to help people with this thing. And if it's feeling not aligned, that might be just, doesn't mean you need to abandon it completely, but you might need to push it out in a different iteration.
That's really cool. It's really cool. I like you said something really cool. That's like, you should be pulling, not pushing.
Yeah. It's like that.
Yeah. And it's funny because like, I swear that's exactly where I am right now. I just turned 50 in June. It's like hormones are going crazy. Like everything is like blah. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what am I here to do? Like, I'm like reevaluating my whole like business and my purpose and everything. And so nothing actually feels exciting right now in my experience.
Totally.
It does feel like I'm pushing, and it's such a weird place because like I've never been in this place. I've always been excited about my work. But
oh, really? That's good for you. I've definitely had moments like that. I've had several moments like that over the last 10 years where I've just felt like I have no thoughts. Like, I'm just like, I am, and I'm literally like, I use my brain to make money. Like, I was scared. I remember the first time it happened to me, I just was in a super creative rut. And I was like, I'm like, am I depressed? Like, what's happening? I just was really nervous. And I just sort of posted, just kind of phoned it in, right? Like, nothing is really exciting to me. I'm just getting reps in, and it ended up being transient. And I've had, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 moments like that over the last 10 years, or like for months on end, being like, I'm not excited about anything right now. And then something happens. Like, so for me, I just try to, in those moments, try to maintain low level of relevancy, low level of engagement, just fucking phone it in. And then it usually comes back and I start getting excited about something else.
Well, it's cool because what you're speaking about too is health and fitness, because you're a health and fitness expert. And it's the same thing. And I just equate everything with like building muscle and going to the gym. Yeah. Even if you don't feel like it, if you're committed to it, you do something. You go for a walk. You lift a few weights. You do something, and that's what every like health and fitness expert says. It's like, don't just abandon it completely. Like, do a little of something at least, so you're still in that consistency. And it's the same thing here with your business and your social media.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, what one of my mentors says, your business isn't here to entertain you. It's like, if you're serious about this, and like this is like, to me, it is a creative outlet, but it's also like, it's my livelihood. It's my career. I have people on payroll. Like, I got to show up, right? So it's a different level of putting yourself on the hook. But when you have those moments, that's where, I don't know if you've ever read the book, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. He's like, if you're a professional, you just show up, even if you don't want to, right? You don't wait for motivation to strike. Motivation strikes as a result of just doing something small, or the slight edge, like that book. I forget who wrote The Slight Edge, but it's basically just like, you just do a little bit and you sort of cruise through those moments of low motivation. I want to normalize this. I think this is important for anyone listening to this. This is normal, at least in my experience. And I think try not to judge it. I think we judge ourselves like, oh, like, what's wrong with me? Or I'm not going to be able to do this. And we kind of catastrophize. At least I did the first time it happened. I was like, oh my God, do I have no more ideas? Like, I'm going to have to pack it up. It was just like, no, it's an ebb and a flow, right? I'm in this sort of mode where I'm not really being super prolific. And then you kind of come out of that. It's like, it's a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. You're like, oh, actually, I needed to have those months, or maybe even that year or two, where I was in the sort of cocoon, so I could come out and I could really create something new and different. And I think if you're in the industry for long enough, which hopefully everyone will be, you're going to have many moments like that. Mm-hmm. And I think just surf that sort of down period. And then in my experience, it always comes back.
Okay, cool. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. I'm with Jill Coleman. She's got podcasts. She's on Instagram. She's amazing. We're going to tell you every place to find her and talk about your podcast too, because I want everyone to know about your podcast. But we'll be right back. This is Rock Your Life with Arian Alexander.
You are listening to Fun for Life Radio. Because what the world needs now is fun, sweet fun.
Okay, we're back. And if you haven't listened to so many of our other shows here on Fun for Life Radio, definitely you'll love some awesome DJ shows with eclectic music and mixes that you can dance your face off, which is super fun. DJ Basie, she's a friend of mine. She's got an awesome show on Friday nights. You should definitely check out. And also my friend Pili Montilla has an amazing hosted show called Truth and Tunes with Pili Montilla. She's a cultural music expert and she interviews awesome musicians and songwriters and producers from all over the world and gets their point of view of their favorite music and how they were inspired and some behind the scenes views of their world. So definitely check out Truth and Tunes with Pili Montilla. And I'm here with my friend Jill Coleman, who is an expert at all things health and fitness and business. And we've been chatting about social media and how to really engage in a really powerful way in social media to build your business. And I know that you have, one thing I think is really cool about you is you're always doing courses and free things. And so you have a free social media course coming up, right?
Yep.
So tell me about that.
Yeah, it's called Social You. And, you know this too, Arian, like a social media following is not a business, right? I think a lot of people who are kind of newer to the space are like, I just need 10,000 followers. I just need to get to 100, like whatever. Like it's shiny metrics. And I think that while it's just easier to look at someone's following and how many times have you looked at someone's following, you're like, oh, they must be making $1 million. And we know that that's not always necessarily the case. So a social media following does not equate to a really successful business. However, it obviously can be leveraged into, money-making opportunities. So for me, I see social media as kind of like the lowest hanging fruit. If you're interested in building an online business, building a digital business, that's where your current people are hanging out. Any of your potential clients are already hanging out on social media. So you have to go and meet them where they're at because we got to get them off social and into what I call some sort of container. So it's either your email list, a DM conversation, a closed Facebook group, something where you have a little bit more sort of FaceTime or controlled sort of conversation with them. But I kind of look at social media kind of like, it's like dating someone. You go on a first date with someone, you see someone's profile, you're like, let me just follow. Let me see this person. This looks kind of cool. Let me just give him a follow. So it's like a first date, right? And then people will decide based on the content that you continue to provide, whether it's educational or entertaining or useful for them, if they want to continue following. And we're kind of we're in this sort of like trust business. There's kind of this trust sort of spectrum. When you're following someone on social media, it's like all of their posts, their social media, either stories or main feed posts, it kind of like moves them along this trust spectrum. Do they find you useful? Do they find you entertaining? Is there some utility to following you? And of course, no one's thinking this consciously, but they'll decide based on that if they want to take the next step with you. Do they want to go steady? And to me, that's where they either get on your email list through some sort of like freebie or lead magnet, or they have a conversation with you in the DMs, or they get into a closed Facebook group or something where there's a little bit more sort of intimate sort of FaceTime with you. And people decide that. And then from there, we sort of move them up the chain into potentially being a client or a customer. And so social media, while it's not necessarily indicative of someone's success, every single person who is successful also needs to spend time on social media because that's, again, where people are hanging out first. So to me, it's like the gateway, which is why I'm doing Social You, which is a free course, because a lot of people coming in who are new to the space don't know what to post, don't know how to use social media to get people into those next levels with them, and don't know how to create content consistently. That's one of the biggest things. I always say consistency is like a 1% action. So many people just don't do it. And I understand why. It's hard. So part of my job is really lowering the barrier to entry for people so they feel like they actually could do this and could be consistent with this. Because in the trust business, people need to see you consistently, right? If they're trying to gauge, okay, is this just like something she's trying on, right? Especially something like network marketing. How many of us have had someone hit us up on Facebook and be like, I'm so excited about these essential oils. And then like 2 months later, they're not doing anything with it. So I think it's important that you show up consistently for even a small audience so they can see it as a trust trigger, a competency trigger that they might be safe taking the next step with you, whether that's, becoming a client of yours or getting into your email list or whatever. So yeah, social media is low hanging fruit.
So the Social You we find that on your Instagram? Like, cause I think that sounds amazing. I'm going to talk more about this, but what you're doing is really, really cool. So how do we find out about that?
Yeah. So link in my bio on social media at Jill Fit. If you go to the link in my bio, essentially it's a 10-day course. It's 100% free. We're doing 3 live trainings, and I'm actually going to be giving some homework out. So one of my biggest promises is that you're going to get more done in 10 days than you have in the last 10 months. And that's real. This is really just a momentum building sort of course. Putting people on the hook to follow through and to see that it doesn't have to be as hard as they're making it in their heads. I think there's a lot of people who are really frustrated with social media, especially with the algorithm and not growing fast enough and reels and all these kind of new things. And there's a lot of overwhelm. Do I need to be on TikTok? Do I need to get my YouTube up? Should we be on Pinterest? There's a lot of overwhelm. So part of what we're doing in Social U is I kind of want to give people permission to only worry about these things and then not worry at all about these things. I think a lot of people coming in feel as though they have to be doing everything. And because of that, they end up doing nothing. And so really Social U is a way for me to just give people some of the big dial movers to focus on, and then give them permission to not worry about certain things as well.
That's so cool. It's really great because I see that all the time that people get so confused of what should I focus on and which platform should I be on? And I always say the platform you should be on is the one that you'll be on.
Totally. And it is, it's that's the thing is, but you can always add stuff later. I think there's this finality to I guess if I'm going to start a TikTok, then all of a sudden I got to be on TikTok. It's go ahead, create the account. And then to your point, figure out what's easiest. What do you enjoy also? Some of my clients don't love Facebook, or they find it really hard to do YouTube videos. And it's cool, then maybe not YouTube right now. Maybe make a little bit of money, create some resources for yourself, then bring in someone who can help you with video. There's plenty of time. I call the nuts and bolts and the bells and whistles. Nuts and bolts are cool. I usually focus on Facebook and Instagram for beginners because that's where most people are hanging out. But then bells and whistles later. Cool. I love Pinterest. Yeah, I'm going to get into TikTok. I'm going to be on Clubhouse. But it needs to be for the specific goal that you have for your business as well.
Mm-hmm. That's really, really good advice. And it's also great to just, like you say, I like how you say you're taking things off of the plate. Right? You're helping people really streamline what's important and get to those basics of how to create content and how to really get things rolling. And also what you said is really, really important, that it's easy to look at Instagram and look at likes and look at numbers of followers and assume Okay, here's the deal, people. If you're listening, a lot of people are valid with their audiences and their likes. I specifically know people who have bought followers and are buying likes and have manipulated the system. So don't sweat it, because not everything you see is what you think it is. And, when someone has a lot of resources, they can grow their Instagram very quickly and have a lot of likes very quickly. But most people don't have access to that. So then normal people are oh, I only have, 500 people or 2,000 people or whatever it is, and making themselves ashamed about that. But that's normal. I don't know. I mean, your Instagram is 49,000 basically. Well, I'm pretty sure Jill doesn't personally shake hands and hug every 49,000 person that is on her Instagram. She doesn't know them personally. So if you're starting and you do know these people personally, great. That's who you get to build a relationship with, and they can start your business and sustain your business as you grow.
Huge insight there. Yeah, I will definitely echo that as well. I think, and I will say this too, Ariane, you've been doing this a long time too. It's I think that the numbers are really messing with people's heads. We've just never seen these kind of numbers before in social media. When I started in 2010, it was Facebook business pages weren't even a thing yet, right? So literally, I live in LA. My next door neighbor could have 1 million followers, but it's a regular person. It's not a celebrity. People are just, so it's all these kind of things. So I think when you have the average sort of I work with a lot of moms from the Midwest and stuff like that. They come in and they immediately think that they should have 10,000 followers. And I'm why? You have people in your small audience right now who need help with their health and fitness. They're your perfect clients, and then you'll get them results, and then they'll tell people, and then they'll tell people. And over time, you'll build your following. But it's a huge mistake to think that you can't pull a good income out of a small following. There are plenty of people right now who need your help. And also, it is insulting to the small following that you do have to wish for more. Like, serve them. If you're constantly being like, I need more, I need more, I need more. I'm like, what about those 250 people who love your content, who show up, who like your stuff? Like, what are they, chopped liver? No, like they're there. So I think it's important to find gratitude in the ones that are already showing up in order to eventually get more. I don't think you get more by constantly feeling in scarcity. That's going to lead you to go and just buy a whole bunch of bots or do whatever, which is fine. I've never done that. But to me, it would feel out of my integrity, especially as a business coach. Could you imagine like hiring a business coach and the first, piece of advice they give you is like, go buy followers. You're like, wait, what? Like, to me, it's so out of integrity. But to your point, a lot of people will do this because of the social proof aspect. And to me, I don't really care about social proof. I care about dollars and leads and impact. So to me, if I buy a whole bunch of bots, those people aren't going to be customers. I want qualified leads. I want to have relationships with people. I want to have long-term relationships with people, legacy business. I want people who are repeat customers. I want really strong relationships with my community. And I just can't do that if I'm just constantly buying followers. Different business model.
Yeah. And it's cool because what you said about that you need to take care of who's in front of you now, no matter what that number is, serve the people that are in front of you and then continue to grow, because it's like an insult and a slap. It's like being at your birthday party and you've got 10 friends there and you're like, I'm sorry, you guys are not good enough. And I need 50 friends here and we're not going to have fun until the 50 friends get here.
Totally.
I mean, it's literally what we're doing when we're saying it's not enough. Yep. So that's part of the mindset of like any teacher about abundance and manifestation is like, you have to be in the moment in gratitude for what you have right now and then expand from that place. Because the minute, like you said, you go into scarcity that I don't have enough, you're not going to grow from that place. You're not going to expand. Yep. So it's what you're speaking is about mindset too, and about what our thoughts are about social media because can you imagine the difference of someone opening up their Instagram every day and going, ugh, that girl has so many more followers than me. She must be so much better than me. Right? It's starting a rabbit hole. That's terrible.
Yeah, people are doing that. Yeah, people are doing that.
And so how do you help your clients who have that like competition in their heads and that do that? How do you help them?
Yeah, no, it's such a great question. Like, honestly, and this, we're just like kind of talking about burnout, right? Is like this idea that if you're constantly operating from urgency and scarcity and desperation and like frustration, you're just going to burn out. Like that to me, it's the worst sort of like, so what's the goal? The goal, at least what I teach my clients, is to create what I call a legacy business. Like, I don't want flash in the pan success. I always tell them like, I do not wish virality on you. Like you get a post to go viral, that's amazing. But you're not the person yet. Like, you're not the person who can handle that yet. So to me, there's a lot of utility in who you become as a result of sticking with something. So a legacy business means, I'm not going to show up and within 6 months, make $1 million unless you have a ton of money to spend on ads or something. But you can show up, you can build relationships so that 10 years from now, you're making $1 million and it's not that hard, right? Like, that's really what we're looking at. Is like, over time, do you create a business that has a foundation to it? And if you're constantly operating from this place of scarcity and it's not enough and I'm frustrated and all these kind of things in the algorithm and just like getting so upset by this, you're going to burn out. And that's fine. Like, go get a job. Like, if you can't stick it out and like find a way to just enjoy the process, right? Enjoy the process, then you're going to just fizzle out. This happens to people all the time. And I don't blame them. It is hard. Not everyone wants to stick it out. I think a lot of people are just, especially if you're like, you have a family and you're trying to provide and you're like, I just need money. Like, you're not going to be making, 6 figures right out of the gate as a brand new personal brand. Like, you're just not. However, within 18 months you can be, but you got to do the things, right? There's no shortcuts. And so for a lot of people, I think we see the numbers, they look really shiny. I just want that. I personally know, and I'm sure you do too, people with hundreds of thousands of followers making $0. So, you can have virality, you can land on the Explore tab, you can do all the reels you want. But if you don't have things in place to actually serve your community, if you're not a good coach and you're not getting results for your clients, you can make money. So I think we're kind of talking about two different things. A following does not equal a business. And I have a client right now who has 1,500 followers. She's making $250,000 online this year. 1,500 followers. And
Wow.
even a smaller email list, but she's doing high ticket sales and she gets amazing results for her clients and she's constantly sharing the results she's getting. And it just perpetuates, right? It just perpetuates. Now, if you want to get to a business where you're not doing as much sort of time for money or high ticket one-on-one coaching, and you want to do more courses and stuff like that, sure. Do you need more volume? Yes. But maybe at that point, you have the resources to put into some paid advertising or some collaborations or some affiliate marketing or something like that can help you sort of get to the next level. But I don't think anyone gets to skip steps. And I'm not this person that's like, it needs to be hard, but I'm like, you don't get to skip steps. So I think seeing it as hard as a choice, I think going, do I just love this enough? And this is the irony of it. I don't know if you've experienced this, but the people who would do this, what we're doing for free, end up being the most financially successful because they just love it. It's just what they want to do. Now, make no mistake, my job is literally to help people make money. But at the end of the day, like, they have to love it. This is a lifestyle brand. And if you don't love your creation, then it's just not going to last long. And that's okay too. And I don't think entrepreneurship is for everybody.
And it's cool how you say looking at it like a legacy business. So it's not a quick, you're investing in relationships online as you do in the real world in order to sustain a business over time. And it doesn't happen quick. And you really do have to love it to sustain it. Otherwise you're going to burn out and you're going to be like, ugh, it's terrible.
And people move at their own pace. I think that's the different timelines, right? So we call it, when I'm like, we're in the trust business, trust by nature takes time to build. So you might show up and be like, I'm posting every day, where are the people, right? Like you're like ready to go, but they're like, they still see you as new. They're still not quite sure if you're for real yet. They haven't really seen that many of your posts, right? They're not on your email list. It's like they don't have a relationship with you quite yet. It's funny. A couple weeks ago, I went to get new sunglasses and, when you walk into a sunglass shop, there's hundreds of pairs. And what do? You browse. You're like, I don't know, unless you know exactly what you're looking for. But for most people, you go in and you just browse. I walk in and literally within seconds, the person's like right on me. And he's like, hey, what are you looking for? What are you getting? Can I help? And I was like, I'm just browsing. And this is relationship building, right? And so I'm just browsing. And he's asked me a bunch of questions. I don't even know yet. Like, I'm just trying to like orient myself in the store. I even go to like maybe pick up a pair and he's trying to tell me about them. And I'm like, I haven't even touched them yet. So it's like, it felt very rushed. And that's the exact same thing that these coaches are doing online. They're like, hey, you like my post? Do you want to spend $10,000 with me? It's like, what? So I think you have to give it time, the relationship time to develop. And I know that's hard because we're on a different pace. We're ready to go, right? Ready to make money, ready. And especially, I don't think marketing helps. Like you see the ads on Instagram, it's like make 6 figures in the next 3 months. So they're seeing a lot of these messages and expecting that that's what's going to happen. And I always try and keep it real with my people. Sure, every once in a while you have like a rock star that like just absolutely crushes in their first 6 months. But I would say the majority of people, it's going to take them 18 to 24 months to like get their business viable, to have, certain like money coming in all the time, having a level of receivables coming in they feel comfortable with. And I just try and manage expectations from the get-go and realize that we are in the relationship business. You're not in charge of when people purchase. All you're in charge of is your effort and how you show up every day and putting invitations to work with you in front of people consistently. They'll decide when they're ready.
Wow, that's so great. It's good to have a timeline too of like, it's, probably going to take 18 to 24 months to really build a strong online presence and online business. It's good to have to manage expectations, I guess.
Totally. And, and I feel like when you only been doing it for 6 months, it feels really long, but you and I have been doing it for, a decade or whatever, like 6 months is nothing. It just flies by. But if you haven't been doing it that long, 6 months feels like a long time. So you just need to decide that you love it. At the end of the day, you have to decide that a lot of people will say to me, I really want to build an online business, but I hate social media. I'm like, probably not for you.
Right. Maybe not the place. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Okay, cool. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break. This is Rock Your Life with Arian Alexander. And I want to tell you about my friend Dana's show that is Hollywood Unfiltered. Dana, he's awesome. He interviews producers and writers and directors and actors and all kinds of people in the entertainment business in Hollywood, because who doesn't want to know more about Hollywood, and gives you an inside look of their lives and their creations. So you will love Hollywood Unfiltered with Dana Buckler. And we'll be right back.
You are listening to Fun for Life Radio, because if you survived the last year, you deserve all the fun you can get.
Okay, we're back here with Jill Coleman. Find her on Instagram at JillFit for all the good stuff. And she already told you about Social You, which is her free 10-day social media program, which sounds so cool. And you also have podcasts. You do, that's where I'm always so impressed by you, because you just do everything. You're like, I'm going to have a podcast, and it's like super successful. So you have a couple of podcasts. So tell me about your podcast and how that started, and what's that been like for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, podcast is so fun, as you know. It's so different. So I started podcasting with a show called The Best Life Podcast about 4 years ago, co-hosted with my best friend, who also knows Arian. I think she's already been on the show, Danny J. And she's amazing. And the two of us kind of have very similar sort of life journeys. At the time, neither one of us really had an outlet to talk about sort of mindset and relationship type stuff. But both of us at the time had gotten out of 10-year marriages, went through divorce, infidelity, all these kind of things. And we were like, you know what? We don't really have anywhere to talk about this life stuff. Let's do the podcast and let's talk about the stuff. And so we sort of came out guns blazing, talking about infidelity, relationships, and just kind of just being real with the lessons that we've learned. And it's funny because we definitely don't know everything there is to know about relationships, far from it. But a lot of times talking through some of the stuff, people usually give us the feedback that the shows kind of feel like you're just having a conversation with your best friends. So, we don't try to pretend we're experts. We just share, what I think a lot of people are maybe thinking about relationships, personal development, even like dating. Both of us are in a little bit longer term relationships now. And that's been a fun sort of transition to do on the show. So that's all sort of like mindset, juicy relationship type stuff. And we just actually crossed over 1 million downloads a couple months ago, which is really exciting for us.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, so it's been great. And then I just started a second podcast. It's just fitness business almost a year ago now. It's called Fit Biz You. And essentially it was just sort of a passion project. I wanted to sort of establish myself in the podcasting space with fitness business. All the episodes are 15 minutes or less, and we publish 3 times a week. So it's a totally different model than The Best Life. The Best Life publishes 1 to 2 times a week, and it's very like long form. We have interviews, guests, stuff like that. In Fit Biz You, it's just straight up strategy. It's all business strategy. So if you are listening to some of this stuff and you're sort of geeking out on it, would love for you guys to hit up Fit Biz You. It's growing slowly, not as many interviews. So I think that doesn't help, but it's been really a fun outlet for me to share some of my more long form strategy type stuff when it comes to business.
That's cool. That's really good. And you have the 2 different ones. And you're right. It's like, when you don't have an outlet for some things, it's like, oh, well, that's a good outlet. So that's a good way to look at it. I like that. That's really cool. And it sounds like you do so many things. I mean, you have, your online businesses and Social You and your business coaching, you have high-end clients, you have group coachings, you have 2 podcasts. How do you do all this? How do you manage your time around all this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm really good at batching. So that's mainly how I do it. So for example, I literally go to the studio once a month and I record 12 podcasts in a row. And I get in my mind, right? But for Fit Biz You, that's what I do. I go to as a recording studio here in LA. I sit down for 3 hours and I record 12 episodes. So, and then I'm just done with it for the month. And I have a company that does all my editing, production, promotion, things like that. So that's been an example of a way. And I knew that coming into it. I was like, I know I'm not going to have the bandwidth to do this myself. Who do I know who's doing this? Who's doing a great job? Who can I just offload this to? I don't do any sort of admin tasks. I have a really amazing full-time VA who does all of my emails, just like you, and just, handles all that stuff. So I'm not great at admin. And I recently brought in a new project manager about 7 months ago. So this person is literally doing all the back end stuff in my business, whether it's tech. And I used to do it all by myself. I would spend hours creating sales pages and landing pages and creating, products and services in Kajabi and using all this different software. So I understand it myself. But I was like, know what, I really want to bring in someone who can do the day-to-day in the business so I can just show up in what I feel like is probably my superpower, which is coaching and content creation. So I do still all my own social media, all my own podcast episodes, and then I coach in my groups. And so, but everything else is pretty much taken care of. Now, I'm 11 years into the business, and I even feel like I did not take on a team as soon as I probably should. I think a lot of people, I'd probably advise someone to handle your admin ASAP. That just, for me, I'm just terrible at it. I found myself not doing it, hating it, and it was draining me. Even if I wasn't doing it, thinking about doing it was draining me. So realizing where exactly your superpower is, your zone of genius, and then trying to outsource people. Cause my assistant loves that stuff. She loves to-do lists and checking off the box and like being very like type A with stuff. And I'm the opposite. So I think, finding people who can fill in your gaps is important. And then when it comes to batching, I only take calls and coaching and webinar and things like that Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So literally my Tuesdays and Wednesdays are stacked from like 11 to 7, but then that's it for the week. So then Thursday through Monday, I just do creative work. So I'll be, putting together content, social media, writing emails, stuff that doesn't require me to have like an appointment on my calendar. Now so to me, it's like, I don't want to do a lot of mode switching. So if I'm doing like meetings every day and then also trying to be creative, because that's a different headspace, right? Being creative is different than like showing up and coaching. So I don't like to do a lot of mode switching. So on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm not doing a ton of creative work. I'm not really on social media that much. I'm very much in my business. And then I have the rest of the week, those 5 days to work on other stuff.
That's cool. That's a good way to set it up. And you're right about batching. That's really important. And also offloading to an admin, to a VA when you can. I've learned it's just a game changer. And it's not, and it can be very inexpensive and can make a world of difference in your business. Oh my God.
Right. Remember, you're bringing someone on, like it should be less stress for you. I think oftentimes we think, well, I'm going to have to train this person and I'm going to have to micromanage them. Like if they're good, you won't have to do that stuff. Like, you have to train them a little bit in the beginning to just so they understand your methods and voice and whatever. But for the most part, that's what they're good at. In fact, they're better at it than you. And so that has given me a lot of just sort of like peace of mind, knowing that I have amazing team members that do that stuff better than me. I don't need to micromanage them. Now, every once in a while, they're never going to do like exactly what you would do, but if they can get it 80 to 90% of the way there, I'm good with that. But it does take a little bit. And to your point, it can be very inexpensive, especially if you're just getting started. You have someone like 5 to 10 hours a week, right? It's not full time. Maybe just 5 hours a week, pay them like $20-$25 an hour. Like that's totally doable. That's like one client, that you can now, bring someone on.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay. I have a few lightning round questions for you before we wrap, because this has been so juicy. And again, go find Jill at Jill Fit on Instagram and all her good stuff. And definitely check out Social You. That sounds like so much fun. So lightning round questions. What are you most excited about for the rest of this year? Because I know COVID's still pretty, locked down in LA, but as things open back up, like what are you most excited about?
I am going to Hawaii for 3 weeks in December. I'm super excited about that. So it's going to be, I'll be working a little bit, but for the most part, I'm probably going to just try and take off and relax.
That's awesome. That's so great to go for such a long time. It's so nice. Yeah. I love that. What would you tell your 15-year-old Jill?
Probably nothing, because I wouldn't have listened. I think that's probably it. I just would not have. At 15, no one can tell me anything. Probably nothing. I like the trajectory. I like that I've had to learn the lessons the hard way. So.
Ooh, that's so good. That's so nice that you've had to learn the lessons the hard way, that you like that. And you
well, it's just part of the deal, right? Like you're a different person having gone through that stuff, and that's the thing is people can tell you, oh, don't do this or warn you or caution you. But like, until you have your own experience with it, you don't really get the lesson.
It's so true. It's so true. That harkens back to you at the beginning of this conversation, just saying, with social media, get the scary stuff out of the way. Like it's going to be uncomfortable. So just like do it and get it out of the way. And then you'll survive
it. Right? Like it's never like fun or comfortable, but you'll survive it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then for yourself, like when you're in a rut in like working out or your work or anything like that, what's one or two things that you do to support yourself in that time?
So good. And this is so important to like, if you really do want to have, be tenacious and stick with what you're creating, whether it's your health and fitness or your business building or whatever, you need to really just practice self-compassion. To me, like I used to really judge myself harshly for not being motivated or having like being tired or whatever it was, or not having ideas. I used to judge myself a lot for that. And then I was just like, you know what, this is part of the deal. So what's my goal? Do I want to be perfect every second, or do I want something that's going to last? And I had to really decide that it was okay to not be perfect and give myself permission to just do the bare minimum some days. So self-compassion to me is my compliance tool. It's the way I can keep showing up is I'm just like, yep, it's not ideal, but I'm human and it's fine. And then from like a strategic sort of tactical perspective, I like to just disconnect. Like I go camping with my boyfriend quite a bit, like just stuff like that, where I'm not thinking about business, and I love my work, but sometimes like I can come back to it a lot more focused and excited if I take a few days away. So, I mean, I'm happy to do something like that too.
That's cool. That's great. That's really good to hear. Self-compassion. That's all it is. Always. Yep. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here with us, Jill. This has been awesome. I'm sure everyone's gotten some good nuggets out of it, and I can't wait to see you in person sometime.
I know. You're the best. I'll be in Miami to visit you, I'm sure, at some point. But actually,
everyone needs to come to Miami. It's amazing.
I just had another girlfriend move there like 2 weeks ago or a month ago. So.
Oh, awesome. Good. Well, you have to come. All right.
Thanks for having me, darling. Appreciate you.
Bye.